And I'm looking up, let's see, it always reads to the left, so I'm looking at 0.05% in the middle of the table. So if I'm looking in the middle of the table, it's halfway between this one, which is 0.0495, and this one, which is 0.0505. That means that it is negative 1.6, halfway between those, 4, 5. So this is negative 1.645 right here. That's kind of like the boundary of what we're going to reject or accept. So our test statistic, our z-score might fall in here or it might fall in there, but this is kind of the boundary of what's okay and what's not okay. Keep that open. All right. This is the rejection region over here. That little dark spot. All right, step 4. Step 4 is to find the standardized test statistic. And that formula is z equals x bar minus mu over sigma divided by the square root of n, which should look pretty familiar. X minus mu over sigma, except for the bottom, is sigma divided by the square root of n, like the central limit theorem. And the top, that x is your x bar, because we're technically talking about means here. So this is basically using the data in the problem. All right, so step 4. Let's see, it was x bar minus mu divided by sigma divided by the square root of n. So x bar in the problem, when they actually interviewed the employees, they found out that their average was 66,900. And they were going to subtract the mu, and the mu is whatever the claim was. So that's 68,000. Divide by sigma, which was 5,500. Divided by the square root of n, which was 20. And if you do that math on your calculator, you find out that that is negative 0.89. So if I see where that's landing, negative 0.89. This is negative 0.645. So maybe here is negative 0.89. Okay, it's falling in that null. It does not fall in the rejection region, so we're not going to reject it, we're going to accept it. But let's move back to writing out steps. All right, so step 5 is to accept or reject the null. That's the first thing you think about, is the null. And you reject it if the test statistic falls in the rejection region. And step 6 is to accept or reject the claim. And this is where you need to write like a full sentence explaining whether you accept or reject the claim. All right. So going back to my example here. Let's see. So this time, that test statistic fell in H sub O. Gotta put down my marbles, otherwise I keep on turning the paper. It's probably driving you guys crazy. This is why I can't lose my marbles, guys. I still get a kick that is impossible for you now. It's beautiful. Okay. So this is falling within the null, which means that we're going to accept the null. It did not fall into the rejection region. If it did, we would reject the null. So I'm going to accept the null. Okay, but what does that mean about the claim? The claim wasn't the null. See, I'm accepting this one, which means I'm going to reject the alternative. So my sentence is, I reject the claim, because remember the claim is the alternative in this case. And then you have to say what the claim is. That the mean salary of the company, or I guess the employees, is less than its competitors. Definitely when they took a sample, I mean, it was less. It is less. Here's average right here in the middle, and it's definitely less. It's negative 0.89. That is less, but it's not less enough to be positive that if we asked everybody in the company that their average would be below. So, not enough. All right, that's the answer. So now you should try example 2. Go ahead and pause the video. Pause, while you try out example 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to do my steps again, starting with step 1. All right, sigma. Sigma is population standard deviation is 2,345. I don't think it says it's normal. And I also don't know why I wrote in capitalized as if I'm shouting at it. In! But I do know that n is 500, which means that it's definitely over 30, so I'm good to go. Step 2. H sub O, H sub A. All right, a researcher claims that the mean annual cost of raising a child age 2 and under by husband-wife families in the U.S. is $13,900. Well, that's depressing. $13,900? Sounds right, though. In a random sample of husband-wife families, there's the data. Okay, so let's see. They're claiming that mu that's equals to $13,900. So this time, the null is actually the claim. And the alternative is that it's not $13,900. Step 3. Draw a picture.